Hello, I'm Ricky Gervais. As the Canadian physician William Osler once said, the desire to take medicine is perhaps the greatest feature which distinguishes man from animals. From keyhole surgery to stem cell research, modern medicine enables the 20th century man to play God. But how did we get here? What incremental advances through the ages gave birth to the medical wonders of today? Here to discuss the history and practice of medicine are Stephen Merchant, graduate from the University of Warwick and now award-winning writer.
Thank you very much indeed.
And Karl Pilkington, a man with no qualifications, very little education, but who is now known the world over as a shaven chimp with a head like a fucking orange.
Alright.
Well, there is obviously so much to discuss, Ricky. I wonder, in an effort just to provoke some initial thoughts, if I can offer another quote from the great Carl Sagan, who said, advances in medicine and agriculture have saved vastly more lives than have been lost in all the wars in history. So quite a...
yeah, just shows you shouldn't really worry about war.
What do you mean?
It's not a big problem, is it? Obviously. So, that's a good point there, Carl. War's not as bad as a lot of people make out. What do you think, Carl? Overrated? Too much fuss about all...
Well, I don't know anyone who's died in a war, but I know loads of people who have died from, you know, cancer and what have you. So is that going on Carl's quote? Does that work? Is he right? What did he say?
Good, well we're off to a fascinating start. I think it's probably best, Rick, if we return to the very beginning of time, the dawn of man, because of course, even in primitive prehistoric ages, medicine was practiced in some ways, from the research people have done, cave paintings and the like. Carl, I wonder if you would just give us your initial thoughts on, you know, the medicine of the ancient world.
You sound like you haven't studied it, or you're being...
You're being modest.
You're being modest?
Never really thought about it.
What do you think?
They didn't have much. I know that Tutankhamun, he died of having a knee injury, so they didn't have that much medicine knocking about back then.
Right, where did you get this information from? It sounds vague.
I read it at an exhibition I went to, and
did you read the whole sentence, or
no?
just...
I just saw they had some video footage made up. It wasn't from the time, and they just sort of said this is probably what happened.
Sure. Did you put the headphones on and listen, though, or do you just guess it from the pictures?
I just looked, because I couldn't have the headphones.
Of course not.
Why couldn't you have the headphones?
They're expensive.
How much?
About £50, I think, deposit and everything.
Well, you get that back though if you return them. All you have to do is take them off your head and hand them in.
I don't like the idea of handing money over, because it's like when you get a flat and that, and you put a deposit in, you never get the full deposit back. I don't like deposits.
Well, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to take £50 off because you put wallpaper on your headphones.
No, but it's
not the same, is it?
Exhibition.
So you're going to deprive yourself of education because you don't trust
deprive me. I saw it.
The Natural History Museum.
It came off a chariot. The dangerous things.
He came off a chariot. You saw that on the... How do you know he died? How could you tell from visual images that Tutankhamun died from a knee injury?
It's just... honestly, you're going to make yourself look daft here, because that's what happened.
Imagine that. In a room with Karl Pilkington, we make ourselves look daft. How would we have to... that would be incredible.
So aside from Tutankhamun's knee injury, that's pretty much your grasp of the ancient world in medicine?
Well, I don't know anyone else who's knocking about.
Well, what about if we go back even further? What about if we go to sort of primitive man, cave-dwelling man? What do you know there of medicine in that early stage?
They didn't really bother.
Okay, is that guessing, or
wasn't the earliest ones like people like shaman and those
absolutely, of course,
tribal lords that would say, well, that was I assume even pagan man had sort of apothecaries that certain roots and
shaman who would use herbs and so on. But of course, if we go back to primitive man, you're obviously familiar. I believe it's pronounced is it trepanning?
Oh, when you take the top of your head off and let out the demons. And
they found various skulls from ancient man with holes bored in the top, some of which had healed over, suggesting that they had indeed drilled holes in their head, or presumably they wouldn't have had drills in that point, cracked the head, and in their thinking letting out evil spirits, and then they healed back over. So in some instances, the people survived.
Don't you think it's fascinating that there was at one point when man discovered that this thing that we now call the brain, which sort of houses the mind, he knew was in his head.
It's not that amazing.
Well, no, it's not to you, because you know it's there. But
but back then, I reckon I'd know that's where it is.
why? Can you feel where you're thinking?
Well, it just makes sense to put it there.
What do you mean?
When you think and you speak, it comes out your mouth. So it just makes sense that whatever's near that is near to the mouth. If your brain was in your foot, it'd take ages for you to say anything.
No, it wouldn't! Why?
Yeah. This is like actually talking to a primitive man about his understanding of medicine. They would have more insight. By this point, we'd have just cracked open your head to get the demons out. Shall we move on to the ancient world in terms of Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, of course, because they made huge advances, particularly the Romans, who understood, of course, the importance of sanitation. You know, famously their streets were clean.
Yeah. Don't you think that if we hadn't have cleaned up as much, that, I don't know, we'd be stronger?
What?
Well, I know what you mean. Yeah, they
say
let your kids eat dirt.
mud and
Yeah,
all
of
that.
course. Well, that's building up its sort of immunity system. If you're too cosseted, you don't fight it. And that's exactly what immunisation is, giving you a bit.
Yeah, but
of
it's
the
gone
disease.
mental now. Whenever a baby's born, he's drugged out of its eyeballs. It's only
do you
about a
mean?
week old. They're
do you
giving it
mean?
all sorts of shots.
Like what?
Loads of stuff for whooping cough.
Yeah, you don't want whooping
sugar
cough.
lumps.
Tutankhamun could have died of whooping
No,
cough.
but did you give it loads of stuff? And now it's like, I don't know, it's making us weak.
Yeah. Soon there's going to be things that, one, we're not immune to, and two, our antibiotics no longer work, because of course things like the viruses and bacteria or whatever, they evolve and change so quickly that you can't keep up with them, and also there's this big thing, like the superbug, for example. There's a very strong theory that says that it's where people took half the course of antibiotics, and what it did was, it was almost like an immunisation to the bacteria and virus against the antibiotic. They got stronger.
That's what I mean.
So yeah, we need some germs, as you'd call them. But there are some that we have eradicated. I mean, I think it was in our lifetime that they eradicated smallpox from the world. They just stopped it, and it saved, millions and millions of lives. And they wiped it out.
There are rumours, of course, that both Russia and America still have the smallpox virus under lock and key, which they could theoretically breed and use in a chemical warfare situation.
Well, there was a bit of a scandal a few years ago, I think 10 years ago, where in a university laboratory, someone came across a marked yogurt pot in deep freeze that had smallpox in it. That was a hangover from the 70s.
When you say it was marked, was it like someone's put their name on it because they don't want someone to eat their smallpox
No,
yogurt?
I think they looked into it, and it was the deep frozen smallpox virus that thawed out
They
and
just
released.
left in a fridge.
Well, I think so. Yeah, it was an
I don't
admin
understand.
problem. I'm sure that it's somewhere. What I mean is, it's under lock and key or frozen at minus
So that's
200
not good
degrees
enough, is
centigrade.
it?
Why?
Under lock and key and all that. It's not good enough. Get rid of it. Why are they keeping a little tub of smallpox knocking about?
Well, are they not? Are they not meant to be?
Well,
No,
that's
but
a
what was he
lesson.
doing there in the first place? To me, that's like in James Bond, where they don't kill him when they have the chance. There's always that little thing of, let's play with danger, let's keep a bit.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Pop it
probably
next to AIDS in the Kiora bottle. I don't understand why you'd store that.
Well, there's probably a presumption, it's probably an overhang from the Cold War, where people were thinking, well, listen, what if Russia's still got some smallpox? We better hang on to some smallpox.
It's just
Yeah.
clutter though as well, isn't it? You see, we're obsessed. We're keeping stuff. And it's the same with germs. We can't even say, get rid of that. We won't be needing it. Smallpox. We'll keep it just in case. Get rid of it.